Hey y'all, Blessed Vet here. I hope you guys had a wonderful Valentine's Day and got to spend some time with your special someone in your life. Guys, I hope you didn't forget what this weekend was and now find yourself in the doghouse. So, hopefully, all of you had a great Valentine's weekend. But not only was it Valentine's weekend, it was also one of the best weekends of college softball. We've seen great matchups throughout the country, but a lot of the focus was there in Clearwater, Florida at the Shriners Tournament, a tournament where we've seen 17 ranked unranked matchups. We've seen 7 top 10 upsets. We saw lots of offense, strikeouts, everything you would want as a college softball fan. But of course, you guys know here, this is a Oklahoma Sooners channel, OU being my favorite team. So that's kind of where we're going to focus here a little bit. But then we're also going to talk about the SEC, kind of how they looked as a conference, and then just kind of take a wider scope and look at college softball across the country and kind of where we stand as we move into week 3. So let's take a look at the Oklahoma Sooners and kind of how their weekend went. So coming into this weekend, of course, OU had the loss last weekend to Arizona out there in Tucson. They came out of that weekend 3-1. We've seen some ups, we've seen some downs. So what were things that I was looking for coming into this weekend? Knowing that our opponents weren't really up to par. Some people might say it was a cupcake weekend, it was a name your score weekend, which is what it turned out to be. But there's always room for improvement. There's always times where we can, no matter who the opponent is, we can grow, we can mature, and we can become a better team. So with all that, what were some things that I wanted to see OU work on? Errors. We saw a couple errors there in the first weekend. We all know Patty Gasso is a defensive-minded coach. She wants to see clean softball. So we did see a few errors. So this weekend, would we see any more? We saw a couple more. Now, no defense is going to be perfect, but I felt like overall, defense really did improve. The bats, the offense. I mean, I don't know what to say at this point. If you were on any of my live streams, we kept trying to describe what we were seeing on TV this weekend with the Oklahoma offense. And at this point, I'm just out of words of how to describe this amazing, ridiculous, historic, however you want to describe this OU offense, just insanity of what we saw. But so the bats just kept getting hot. Stats look a lot better. Home runs are ridiculous. So everything at the plate offensively, A+++++. The biggest thing that I wanted to see Oklahoma really work on this weekend, knowing that their opponents were not up to snuff, would have been pitching. I thought last weekend it was really weird. It was really confusing. I thought a lot of our younger underclassmen pitchers looked great. They looked good. They had some pressure situations. They were able to fight through, get through it, get out of some jams. And if you didn't know any better, you would have thought that last weekend, the freshman pitching, the sophomore pitching, all the underclass pitching would have been our seniors. You would have thought, oh, well, they've been there, done that. They have a lot of experience. They have rings, et cetera, et cetera. That wasn't the case at all. The underclassmen, the freshmen, sophomores looked great all the way through last weekend. Our upperclassmen, transfer Sidney Borzon from LSU, didn't look that great last weekend. Of course, the biggest one is Kirsten Deal, KD. I don't know what's going on with her. You know, last week we were out there in Arizona, started off with Arizona State. We got to Arizona there for 3, able to take 2 or 3 from them, but we've seen Kirsten Deal. She struggled, couldn't find the strike zone, looked like she had no confidence in anything she was doing. And so I thought, okay, well, coming into this weekend, Cupcake Weekend, she's going to be able to get right before we go out to the Marinetta Classic out in Cali next weekend. That wasn't the case. It didn't happen. Katie continues to struggle. She can't find the strike zone, giving up free passes, giving up a lot of hits. So I don't know what is going on with Kirsten, but whatever it is, hopefully it's nothing major. Hopefully she can get that fixed. And by the time that we really need her come SEC play, postseason play, she will be ready to go. But pitching, yeah, pitching was the biggest thing that I wanted to see OU work on coming from last weekend into this weekend. Other than Kirsten Dill kind of struggling, I thought the freshman pitching, of course, our ace, Audrey Lowry, Malaya Wachino, the transfer from Ole Miss, she's a sophomore. She looked a lot better. Every pitcher looked great. I've seen a lot of improvement except Kirsten. So don't know what's going on with her, but hopefully she can get that right. Whatever it is, mentally, maybe she has some kind of injury she's fighting. We don't know, but we're here still young in the season, so plenty of time for her to get right and get better. But I just wanted to also go over, like I said, the offense was ridiculous. I want to read some of these stats. I don't want to get them wrong because some of these stats are just insane to say, and it blows my mind. But coming out of this weekend, now this weekend alone, here are some of the insane stats that the OU offense put up. 91 runs scored, only gave up 9. 23 home runs in 5 games. 23 home runs in 5 games. This weekend alone, against inferior opponents, OU was averaging 4.3 home runs per game. That's insane. The average score this weekend was 18-1. Just complete domination. Now, if you know that you're coming into a weekend where all your competition is inferior, they're all cupcakes, what is your job? Your job is to go out, dominate, period. And that's exactly what Oklahoma did. So Oklahoma did what they were supposed to. Wasn't the best opponent, but what are you going to do in that situation? You go out, you dominate, and you move on. And that's exactly what Oklahoma did. I want to talk about today's game a little bit. So they were out there. So they started out in New Mexico. The first 2 games, they had Montana and, gosh, who was it? Well, let's just say over the first couple of days out there in New Mexico, they had Montana, Idaho State, Minnesota, and New Mexico State. Complete domination. Everything looked great other than pitching, which I think is the biggest thing. Domination. So today they drove from New Mexico, a short drive over to El Paso to face UTEP today. The final score against UTEP today, y'all, 34-0. Let me repeat that, 34-0. Started out the game, 8 runs. Second inning, nothing. The third inning, they put up 12. In the third inning alone, y'all, in today's game, they had 2 grand slams and a 3-run home run in the same inning. I don't know if that's ever happened before for OU softball, but that is ridiculous to do that. But the final score ended up being 34-0. And so everybody started talking about, well, isn't that like the all-time record? Now, if you remember, back in 21, we went out and we faced UTEP. We beat them 29-0. That wasn't the record. So when we got to 34, I'm like, this is the record, right? Did OU just set the all-time record for runs scored? No. Unfortunately, they were 1 away from tying the all-time record, which was set back in 2014 against Arkansas Pine Bluff, where OU won 35-1. But just insane of what we saw today with Oklahoma. Complete domination. Didn't matter what UTEP tried to do. I think we've seen their whole pitching staff. We've seen 6 to 7 different pitchers. So just complete domination. Today was historic with everything that happened. Just insane. So from that, let's move on to the Clearwater tournament. Like I said, this was a massive weekend for college softball, but a lot of the focus was there in Clearwater, Florida, with all the top teams that were there to face each other. So in that, we've seen 41 games, 12 shutouts, 75 home runs, 9 upsets, and 7 losses by top 10 teams. Just incredible weekend just there alone for that tournament there in Clearwater. And of course, I said 17 ranked unranked matchups. One of the teams there was Nebraska. Of course, with Oklahoma, Doherty Ball did play at OU for a couple years before she transferred back home to Nebraska. I want to take a minute to kind of talk about what they're doing. If you look at their record, they're 6-4. In that 6-4 record, 8 of those first 10 games are against ranked teams. This year, they have 4 top 25 wins, but they also have 2 key wins against, at the time, number 1 Texas, depending on what play you look at. And then just a couple hours ago, they beat number 1 Texas Tech. So they have massive, massive wins on the season so far. They also beat top 10 LSU. So Doherty Ball and Nebraska, they're going to be a problem. They're going to be in the postseason, and it would not shock me at all if we seen them in the Oklahoma City. Would not surprise me at all. I would expect that they're going to be there. The Big Ten's not very strong. You have Nebraska and you have UCLA, and other than that, that's about it. So definitely excited to see what Nebraska does. I was really glad to see them not only beat Texas, but Texas Tech. So Doherty Ball, Nebraska, salute on that. The next thing I want to look at, and the final thing, is Oklahoma as on the season so far, and kind of what they're looking at in some of their stats. 38 home runs through the first 9 games, 4.2 home runs per game, slugging percentage of .955. That's ridiculous. 3-1 versus top 25, 6 run rules, 122 hits, 64 walks. The runs scored on average, they're beating opponents nearly 14-3. Just insane stats so far. As we're early here in the 2026 season, they've had 2 shutouts, only 3 errors. Now, I said pitching is their biggest problem, but here's some of the stats on the pitching. 35 strikeouts in the first 50 innings. So just domination, no matter what category, what stat you want to look at, just complete domination. So another crazy stat, all 14 position players for Oklahoma have at least 1 home run. That's just crazy that everybody on your team has a home run, other than if you're a pitcher. Just crazy. This weekend alone, they went 78 for 147 at the plate of .531. So I don't know what the updated stats look like, or their averages, or the offensive stats as a whole, but it has to be, OU has to be in the top 2 or 3 in just about everything. Home runs, RBIs, everything. Batting average, slugging percentage. So I'm really excited to see the updated stats for Oklahoma and how they kind of rank versus the rest of the country. Okay, so the final thing, first let's get into the SEC. Of course, OU being in the SEC, how did all that look? So the SEC, of course, going into this weekend, they had 10 teams ranked in the top 25, 8 in the top 13. So a lot of domination from the SEC when it comes to softball. Coming out of this weekend, we knew that we were going to see a lot of change. There'll be a lot of change in the rankings when the rankings come out tomorrow. But just in the SEC alone, guys, there's probably about 8 to 9 teams that are still undefeated on the season. Now, some of those lower tier teams and not really going to play a factor in anything as the season goes along. But just in the SEC alone, you still have number 3 Tennessee, number 5 Florida, number 10 Bama, number 12 Mississippi State that are still undefeated. Now, some of their schedules haven't been the greatest. Like if you take a look at Bama and Mississippi State, they've both played Georgia Tech. That's their best win on this season. So they really haven't been tested yet, but the SEC looking great. The depth is there. Just a lot of domination from the SEC conference as a whole. Number two ranked Texas had a good weekend. Still only have one loss on this season, and that's to Georgia Ball and Nebraska. Of course, Oklahoma's 8-1 on this season. Had that one loss where they gave up the lead in the 6th inning to Arizona last weekend, but OU's looking good. A&M. A&M was one of the teams at Clearwater. Y'all, it was rough. They had a very rough weekend. It was not good. Now, they came in ranked number 8. They are going to drop in the polls a lot. On the weekend, number 8, A&M went 3-2 there in Clearwater. Not a good showing. LSU, even worse, y'all. LSU went 1-4 this weekend, so they're definitely, it would surprise me if they're going to be out of the polls. Of course, Tennessee, number 3 in the country. They went 5-0 there. The only team to go undefeated there at Clearwater. Y'all, they look good. They have a lot of great wins. They already have 3 top 10 wins. They dominated the competition there in Clearwater this weekend. So really, really impressed with Tennessee. They're definitely going to be a threat to win a national title this year. And the other team, Georgia, they started out the Clearwater tournament losing to Oklahoma State. Thought they had a big comeback, weren't able to pull it or to come through on that, but finished this weekend 5-1. So Georgia's definitely a team to keep your eye on. A couple other teams, Mississippi State, they're still 10-0. Hadn't really played anybody. Florida, number 5, they're going to be good. They're dangerous. Again, record could be very deceiving. They really hadn't played anybody, so we'll see how they look once they get tested. So that's kind of a look at the SEC and where all that stands. So the final thing I want to talk about is next weekend. So Oklahoma, they're going out to California for the Mary Nutter tournament. Play begins on Thursday, where they're going to play a couple on Thursday, 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and finish up on Sunday before coming back home to play their first home game of the 2026 season. So looking at OU's schedule next week on February 19th on Thursday, they're going to start off the Mary Nutter tournament playing Cal State Fullerton at 7:30 Central Time. After that, they're going to follow up with San Diego State at 10 p.m. our time. So going to be a late start. I will be doing a live stream for all the games this weekend coming up. So hopefully y'all have enough energy and we can watch them dominate both Cal State Fullerton and San Diego State next Thursday. Going into Friday, they're going to play Duke. Duke was ranked. They're not going to be after this weekend. They had a really rough weekend, so we'll see Duke next Friday at 3 o'clock Central Time. Then we follow up Saturday with a couple there where we play Long Beach State and Cal. First game at 12. And then after that, it'll be at 2:30. And then we're going to finish up next weekend for Oklahoma out there in California when we play Washington, who should be ranked in the 20-25 range. But we're going to finish up with them at 11 o'clock, and then we'll move on for the first home game. So ways to watch next weekend's tournament. It will not be on ESPN Plus or ESPN or any of that. So here it's going to be on Flow College, but here are some other ways you can watch the tournament, because I wanted to make sure, because I was hearing just a lot of different things. So you can watch it on Roku TV, Fire TV, Chromecast, or Apple TV. If you don't have access or you can't get near a television, you can download the Flow Sports app on your phone and watch it that way. So different ways you can watch OU next weekend. If you're not busy, come check me out here on Blessed Fet. I'll be doing a live stream for all the games. And the channel is growing well. Seeing a lot of support from all you Oklahoma fans. So the goal with our channel is to get to 1,000 subs by the end of softball season. We're almost to 725, so everything's looking well there. So if you're a fan of OU softball in general, you like OU content, or if you're a military veteran, I also like to do videos and content and give love and support to our troops. So with all that being said, thank you. I hope you guys have a good night. God bless.